Okay. Wait for everyone to come through our virtual doors.
So we're expecting a good number today, aren't we?
Yes, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah.
It's the perfect time for everyone. Friday lunchtime, you might think, but we get a lot of people that are joining us now, and it's brilliant because we can sit and have your lunch. And that glass of wine we were just talking about with your ham sandwich and a packet of crisps, of course, or
Yeah.
a well-earned beer on a Friday, and actually get some information on some CPD. So welcome everybody. I know everybody's still sort of coming through the doors, but so really, really glad to have you with us. I'm back presenting a question knowledge. It's great that I get to this. So obviously I used to present question knowledge, and then Shane, our sales director, he came in and took over, but he's on paternity leave. So I get the chance to do this, and I'm really glad that I do. I'm really, really glad that I do, because this one I'm so excited about that. So we're joined this morning, this afternoon even, by Michelle Lowe, from Market Financial Solutions. So Michelle's on with us today, and we are talking about gazumping, aren't we, Michelle?
Yes. Yeah. Which is an interesting subject in the market at the moment.
It really, really is. And I'm sure everybody that's on this webinar will have experienced that, if not personally, but certainly via their clients. So we're going to be looking at how how prevalent gazumping is within the UK housing market, and also ways that you can help protect your clients from being gazumped as well. And just understanding the tactics that are out there, and the role that specialist finance can play in that. So I think this is just a really, really interesting session. Certainly we've not done anything like it before. So what we're going to do is we're going to run a couple of polls just to get so we can't see you, we can't hear you, but as always, down at the bottom you've got the Q&A. So if you've got any questions, ask those. We're going to run a couple of polls now just to gauge what your experience of the market has been. So talk to us via the polls. But actually, then Michelle, I'm going to hand over to Michelle, but we're going to do the Q&A throughout as well. So this is a really, really, what our sessions are like, guys, really interactive. So have you got any questions or anything that you want to throw at Michelle, or me even, if I can help, but Michelle, because she is our expert today on this subject. So please just feel free to ask the questions in the Q&A as we go through the session. So and the other thing to say as well, we're chatting about this just as we were waiting to go live, and if you want to ask the question anonymously, we absolutely encourage that. If you don't want to put your name on there, the really important thing from these sessions is that you get the information that you need. I've been a broker, I was a broker for many years in the industry. I know it's like you get qualified and then time passes, months and even years, and you think, how do I not know this? And almost you don't want to ask because everybody thinks of you as experienced. But you know what? It's fine. This is your space to learn what you need to give you the best possible chance of doing what you do with your clients. So ask the question, ask it with your name, ask it anonymously. We don't mind, as long as you get what you need out of this session. That's what really matters to us. So, okay, I'm going to launch the first poll then, Michelle, and
Okay.
let's see what everybody thinks. So the first poll on your screen now. So this year, how many borrowers have contacted you after losing a property due to being gazumped? So if you want to place your bets now, we'll just give everybody just a second to do that, and I'll put the answers on the screen. So yeah, we are talking about being gazumped as well, but just to give you a little teaser as well. I was talking to Michelle before we came on live, and she's got some news on some really interesting products and criteria that you might not be aware of, because it's a little bit under the counter, shall we say?
Yes, it
So,
is. It is. Yeah. So
hang on.
just a sneak peek there. Yeah.
You're going to get a sneak peek that nobody else has got today, so that's good. Right, okay. Everybody's answered. Thank you. That really, really helps. Okay, I'm going to end the poll and share the results now. Okay, here we go. So this year, how many borrowers have contacted you after losing a property due to being gazumped? So 53% said not, 47%. Wow, 1 to 10. Wow, that's quite. Does that surprise you? Or maybe it doesn't surprise you, actually, Michelle.
No, it really doesn't surprise me, especially with how things are in the market at the moment and the length of time that transactions are taking with high street, and even some specialist lending banks as well.
Yeah.
It's quite common.
Interesting. Okay, let's have a look at the next question then. So the next question is, do you think gazumping should be outlawed in England and Wales, matching Scotland? Yes or no? Multiple choice question, yes or no? This is interesting because actually what I was thinking, well, 40%, 47% said yes on gazumping. And I'm guessing, I don't want to do any spoiler alerts on what you're going to cover, but I'm guessing there's regional differences there as well. I think probably in some parts of the country, maybe it's more prevalent. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, potentially. It really depends as well. It happens a lot, especially with investment style properties.
Yeah.
When it's kind of your first time buyers, it doesn't happen as often. So it can really depend on the type of property as well as the area as well.
Interesting. Okay, let me end this poll. Everybody's voted. Thank you. I'm going to share these results. Look at that.
Yeah.
That's almost overwhelming. Do you know what? If you said no, I'd be interested to understand why you said no, actually. That's an interesting one of why you don't be, because it's an interesting perspective as well. Why, you could argue, there's to give people an absolute fair crack at everything, but then it's difficult, isn't it? It feels unfair, but depends whether you're the person that's won the property or not, I guess. But yeah, do you think gazumping should be outlawed in England and Wales, matching Scotland? 94% of you have said yes. So quite does that surprise you or not? A sense of fairness that we've all got in our industry, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, my answer, if I was to answer that, I would say to outlaw it. I think and we'll touch on that a little bit in the presentation. There's so many people that can get so far down the line with the transaction. They've invested a lot of time, they've invested a lot of money. Valuations, solicitors' fees aren't cheap these days. And if someone can just pull that from under the rug through no fault of the buyer at all, then it does feel a little unfair.
We did have just a very small minority there that said no, it shouldn't. And I suppose looking at it from, just playing devil's advocate there just for a
Yeah,
minute, that actually, you know what, all's fair in love and war in the housing market. And, it's dog eat dog, isn't it? I guess that's the flip side of it, isn't it? Just playing devil's advocate to the
yeah.
other side there. So let's have a look at the third poll that we've got. So the question we're asking here, are borrowers aware that they can use specialist finance as a way to minimize their risk of being gazumped? So are borrowers aware? Are you aware even? So two options. Yes, my clients use specialist finance for this reason, or I feel like there needs to be more information on this option. So it'd be interesting to see what everyone says here. Looking at these results as they're coming in, I think you're in the right place today. You are where you need to be at this point in time. This is interesting. I'll just give everyone a second. Last few votes on here. This is why I'm so excited that of all the webinars that I don't get to present, I get to do this one with Michelle, because I've seen what the content and it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Let's have a look then and see where we are with this. Okay. Look at that. 87%
Wow.
feel like there needs to be more information on this option. That's interesting, isn't it? Does that surprise you?
To be honest, it does surprise me a little bit. However, for brokers and even for clients, there's a huge thing at the moment about education. The market has changed so much, especially in the last 12 to 18 months. It's completely different to where we were even, 3 years ago. A different world that we're learning to live in right now. So yeah, it does and it doesn't surprise me, but these educational pieces that we can provide and give that little bit of insight to people hopefully will help to overcome any of these issues.
Yeah, no, brilliant. We've just got Adriana in the comments in the Q&A. Thank you. Really good perspective. Adriana says, although I voted yes, it would be great to be outlawed. The no perspective, the devil's advocate view, is that if the contract is not legally binding yet, why should the seller not be allowed to take another offer since the buyer can also change their mind at any point? It's such a good point. That is
Yeah,
just such a good point that you make. You know, because it goes both ways, doesn't it? It really does go both ways.
it does, and there can be cases where things are held up and the seller of the property needs to complete quickly for their own personal reasons. So yeah, it's a complete devil's advocate. However, it's always going to be that split of 50-50, what's fair, what's not fair, who's it fair to, the vendor, the buyer.
Yeah, but I think the key, and you're going to talk about this as
Yeah,
well, Michelle. The key is what can you do to help your
yeah,
clients in that position? And let's be honest as well. As brokers, and I'm putting my broker hat up, my old broker hat on, and saying
yeah,
we. I'm going to say we with this. You know, we're not completely altruistic. It affects our pipelines, doesn't it? You don't want things
yeah,
that you've done all of that work and then to find out that, they're being gazumped and you've lost that deal. And, it's not just the customer that's, we talk about treating customers fairly. I've got a big thing about treating brokers fairly because actually they're the ones that they've done all that work and that deal's just fallen off, and
yeah.
maybe that client will find another property, but maybe not, or not yet, because they've just spent however much money on fees that they've lost. They might have to recoup that cost. So being completely realistic about it, it's helping customers, but what you're going to talk about now will help brokers to try and keep these deals in their pipelines, won't it?
Absolutely. And like you say, it's feast or famine being a broker sometimes, and you need that pipeline to get to a point where it's feeding through constantly and not losing these deals to quite a high number, what we've just seen from the poll that brokers are suffering.
Absolutely. And Yvonne's just in the Q&A there. Yvonne's just said, I wouldn't be happy to have the mortgage, the buildings and contents, and the life products cancelled when I've done all of the work.
Yeah,
Absolutely, Yvonne. Do you know what I feel for? When I can put myself back in that position. I know a few years since I've been a broker now, obviously since Knowledge Bank, but you think about the mortgage, but Yvonne's absolutely right. It's all the
yeah,
insurance products, isn't it? The buildings and contents, the life, critical illness. It's a good chunk coming out the pipeline. It's such a good point. So anything we can do to help, then it does make such a difference. So, Michelle, I'm going to hand over to you now. I know you're going to share
yeah.
your screen and you're going to talk through things, but
I am.
seriously, any questions as we go through? I'm just going to jump in and in the Q&A, I'll pick your questions up and ask them to Michelle as we go through. So feel free. It's not questions at the end. You can ask them at the end if you feel more comfortable, but as you go through, just ask your questions and we'll try and answer them as best as possible. So, Michelle, I'm going to hand over to you now to share your screen.
Lovely. If I can do this properly, then here we go.
We've got you. There
So
you are. Perfect.
perfect. Bear with me just 2 moments while I ensure. Right, lovely. So yeah, can everyone see the screen perfect there? Is that okay, Nicola?
Yes, perfect.
Great. So lovely. So yeah, today we're going to discuss how widespread gazumping is in the UK market. We'll outline how to protect clients, and we'll also discuss the role of specialist lending and how this helps overcoming these gazumping tactics that we've seen on the poll that many people are suffering from at the moment. So in March, we conducted a research survey, so of 1,183 UK adults who have recently bought property in England and Wales. Now, staggeringly, 73% felt like gazumping and gazundering tactics have become more common in recent years due to the high demand and the limited supply of property, which is quite obvious from, again, touching on the poll, what we've seen, what brokers that are on today are going through. Now, unfortunately, 39% of these people revealed that they've paid and they've lost fees, such as solicitors and surveys, as part of the recent property purchase, as part of the property purchase that later fell through. And again, touching on the discussion that we've had, it has a knock-on effect for our brokers as well, when they're also losing out on further transactions that they could have been doing with the particular client. Now, 78% of people highlighted that they did want to see the government introduce the laws to ban gazumping, matching what the Scottish government has done. So, and again, going on the poll that we've just done, then 78%, probably the further 22% there are thinking devil's advocate. And I guess you do have to look at every single side to the story for that. Now, it appears that the rise in buyer interest is what's leading to the increase in gazumping. So rather than the worry of gazumping putting off buyers, it's more of a byproduct, I would say, of increased demand and limited supply. So we found that there was a 9% increase in sales during the first quarter of this year, which is great. It doesn't always feel like that at the moment, especially with the interest rate rises. But when we do compare that to quarter one in 2023, then we're seeing signs that property is still very much in high demand. So the average discount from asking price to agreed purchase price, it's now 3.9%, which is down from last November, where it was 4.5%. So I guess the key thing to take away is that there's a keen appetite. The UK housing market is still in demand. Lenders and brokers, we just need to work together to ensure that our borrowers, we're finding the funds and the speed to complete on the investment deals, so that people can overcome this challenge of gazumping, where sometimes it, like I say, it is the speed there that we really need to work towards. Things have slowed down a lot in every single side of the market. We can always try and blame, solicitors or inquiries that are coming through, other particular issues with the property, but as an overall process, the speed in general over the whole market has just changed, which is putting the cash buyers at the forefront of a vendor's mind right now. So another good thing is the Yorkshire and Humber. They've showed some of the strongest growth in sales alongside the Northwest, which is up 13%, and the Humber is up 11%. So the average house price over in the Humber is 185,600, and then the Northwest is actually at 194,500, which surprised me. I thought that would be a little bit higher. I don't know what other people's thoughts are, especially in the northwest areas.
Actually, we've got a question here. So Yvonne's just asked, we've had quite a lot of down valuations recently. So is that part of your figures? Down valuation?
Potentially, yeah, potentially. We are seeing down values throughout the whole of the UK. Um, uh, you know, uh, I think that can also be to do with um, insurance for surveyors as well. There's a bit of uncertainty in the market. So although we can see that the figures are showing growth and strength, then there is still some uncertainty with the interest rate rises.
Do you think valuers are being a bit more cautious as well? Do you think, because I mean, Yvonne just said she's quite a lot of down valuations recently, which is,
Yeah,
it's always a nightmare, that, isn't it? Complete nightmare. Does it still fit on the LTV? And it's, is the person
yeah,
still going to sell the property at that? Can they afford to move on? All the issues that down vals
yeah.
cause, as well as extra work. But yeah, if it just that still that bit of cautiousness, I think maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there is especially cautiousness out there for the lenders and also for the surveyors undertaking those valuations. And they've got to do a lot of work in the background to um to to basically you know, confirm why they've given that figure and why they think it is that figure. And if anything was to come back, worst case scenario, if the lender did try and sue, then it's on that surveyor to. It's a difficult time.
And actually, Yvonne, you need to be on here. We need to get you up, don't you? We've
Yeah.
got some good points there that Yvonne's making. It's such a good point, this. Yvonne's saying with a shortage of properties, some people are offering well over the asking price, aren't they? So it's kind of,
Yeah.
that's compounding an already difficult situation, is it? Where they're going, that's the value of it. But then we've got people offering over and it's not, that's not driving the price. Sometimes it's unrealistic, isn't it? And I think, everybody's
Yeah.
seen an offer that you think, "Yeah, it might be worth that to you as an individual, that particular house, because that is the house that you want, it's the
Yeah.
location, whatever it is about the house that you want." But as a lender, you've got to take an overall view and say, look, worst case scenario, if we repossess that house and put it on the open market, what generally is it worth? It's a really good point, that, Yvonne. And then Ian's just a question here. Isn't the difference between November and spring figures the Christmas effect? It's a good point, Ian.
Potentially, it really could be, and all we've got to go off is, you know, the calculated figures that we can get hold of at that point. And yeah, there was huge changes from month to month last year.
Yeah.
The even this year, January, February, we saw a lot of people coming back on interest rates and started rising again, then dropping. They're starting to rise again now. So people can't always sit on the money. Investors, they have to keep buying. But there is periods of time that we are seeing that people are sitting and doing that waiting game.
I
But
think it was a little bit better, wasn't it, this time? That if you think the year before, can you remember December after the mini budget? I think everybody just went, do you know what? Forget it. Let's just
yeah,
because you obviously everybody was thinking, we need some stability. Yeah, everybody was spooked by the mini budget, weren't they? And I think,
yeah,
we saw Knowledge Bank searches just dropped. I think brokers, right, quite rightly, after a terrible year, had just gone, do you know what? Forget it. We'll just, the business wasn't there. Everyone was finishing early for Christmas. Last year felt better. It did feel better, but it's a really good point that Ian makes, the effect of Christmas between, November and spring. It's a good point.
yeah. November and spring, it died a death, and I don't think anybody was expecting the rises in interest rates to go to what they did. I think people this year have been expecting a drop in base rate, which unfortunately isn't happening at the moment, especially with swap rates keep rising. So, you know, we can all have these predictions, and people will wait for a period of time, but then life has to go on. We have to get used to this new world that we're living in. And you know, there is it's a case of supply and demand, and there's a huge demand there still for property. The supply is not there, so like you say, people are going to be paying more to try and get to the front of the vendors list of who they're going to sell that property to and how quick they can complete.
Yeah, no, really good points there by Yvonne and Ian.
Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah. Lovely. So we'll go on to the next slide. So this one is about how can borrowers protect themselves from being gazumped? And I guess looking at the polls as well, this is really one of the main questions that brokers want to know at the moment. So this particular case scenario, we offered a solution of bridging finance. So bridging finance can complete quite quickly. We offered this particular loan for a 12-month period. So the initial inquiry is we've taken a London property for this one. The property value was £1 million. The client's still looking to purchase it as their second buy to let. So they're looking for a 75% loan to value. Now, the property is based in prime central London, and it's a really popular area for tenants. So it makes it great for your investors, especially and particularly for cash buyers. Now, the vendor in this particular property purchase needed a really quick turnaround, so it was putting huge pressure on this borrower. Now, due to the deposit that they had, a slight down value in the property, and there was a couple of credit issues, the loan to value was reduced down to 65%. The particular buyer couldn't complete unless we offered 75%. So what we did was we offered a bit of a solution. We had a look at the client's profile, we had a look at properties that they had in the background, and their personal residency had enough capital that we could raise the further 10% required to complete this transaction. So we raised that on a second charge against the borrower's home on a bridging loan. So it took the pressure off the borrower at that point. The vendor also got some comfort that this was going to complete quickly because they were using a bridging loan. What we try and tell clients is once we've received all the documents, so the report on title, everything back from solicitors, and we've done the rest of our due diligence, we can actually provide funding in as little as 3 days. So as long as all the ducks are in a row, solicitors are working together, our underwriters, our audit team, everyone is on the same page, and the broker also understanding our process, we can get this done very quickly, and put the client in a position where technically they are a cash buyer. So they don't need to lose out to these investors that have that cash. You do find many of these houses for cash companies that advertise all over, will buy your house for cash. They offer less than what the property is actually worth. 95% of the time, they're using bridging finance. They're not actually using their own cash. They're using a finance purpose to make them put them in a position where they're perceived as a cash buyer. Again, giving confidence to the vendor that they can complete quickly. So we managed to turn this one round for the client. It was a great story for them. We also offered an exit strategy as well. So this helped the broker, because now all lenders are offering, they're requesting an exit strategy for a bridging loan to ensure that the borrower can get out of it during that 12 months. So we offered the exit strategy of a buy-to-let mortgage. We gave the details of that. So if the client did require the specialist finance instead of going more to a challenger bank or a high street bank, then they had our product to fall back on. So this was a great success story that we were happy with. Now, the next question is, so how can specialist lenders support borrowers and also support brokers? And I would say this is by looking outside of the box. So non-standard properties, non-standard clients. And when we're talking about non-standard properties, we're talking about the type of properties that would potentially fall outside of a tick box for a challenger bank, potentially, but most likely a high street bank. So a lot of brokers, you understand what all the high street banks want, but as soon as you get to, properties that are HMOs above 6 bedrooms, or you've got a large MUFB there, mixed portfolios of clients, holiday lets, all of these types of purchases, especially even auction properties, that sometimes they require a 14-day completion, or commercial units that purchased for conversions, then this is where specialist lenders come in and can handhold the broker throughout the process, offering them a facility to ensure that the client can get the transaction over the line. Now, we talk quite a lot about non-standard properties, but we've also got many non-standard clients out there as well. Um, there's a lot of adverse credit. It's been a difficult few years. We're not just blaming COVID anymore. Times have been hard. Cost of living has gone up. Things have changed within our world. So there's adverse credit out there. Or even with, I've dealt with many cases where you've got investors and they've got quite large portfolios and they've missed a few payments. They've got so much that they're dealing with. They might have a portfolio of 50, 60 properties. They're changing bank accounts. They're running maintenance companies, sourcing companies, estate agents, and they don't always notice when there's a couple of payments missed. So straight away then they fall into a category of being a high risk client, which is a bit of a shame, but we can offer a solution there. people with non-UK bank accounts, or even no footprint in the UK. We've got many foreign national clients that are looking to step into investment within the UK, and they're really moving up north at the moment as well. We're seeing a lot of these inquiries, so we can help with those clients. We can help them get a UK footprint. We can even assist if they need a route to go down to get a UK bank account if they've never had one before. Professional statuses, portfolio landlords, offshore companies as well, high finance requirements. So we will offer up to £50 million on a bridging loan. There's not many lenders that offer that high value, but we're really structured in a way that we understand that market. We're predominantly always have been a central London based lender, so we get those high values, but we also like to do the smaller cases now as well. There's property developers or trading businesses that can fall into a non-standard client, and purchasing through limited companies as well. So these are where we really step in.
So that leads me on to another question,
And
Michelle. So Yvonne's asked
yeah.
a really good question. Do you do limited company holiday lets as an exit strategy?
Yes, we do. So these are a couple of the things that are kind of the products that we don't shout about at the moment. So yeah, the limited company holiday lets. We offer exit strategies for commercial as well now. So we've got some really good rates on our commercial term lending. We will offer flats above commercial as well. We like flying freeholds. All of these really quirky kind of properties and quirky cases, then we're happy to look at and offer those exit strategies. So some of the huge USPs that we offer as well is our rates are, we're not the cheapest out there. We are competitive, but we're there for a reason. We've got USPs in the market. I believe every lender is there for a reason. But we've only got 2-year ERCs. So you can take a 5-year product, 2-year ERC on there, and then if the client then falls into a category 2 years down the line, once they've gained their experience or the credit's improved, that they can move on to a cheaper rate, it's just giving them that opportunity to take that stepping stone to the next level. So holiday lets, yep, we absolutely love them, and we will calculate it on a holiday let rent as well.
We've just got another question. Yvonne just said as well about adding that to Knowledge Bank. So I'll make sure that I was just replying back to you saying spot on there. And I've made a note to get that added because that's brilliant. And Yvonne says actually a specialist tax treatment of holiday lets is changing. Yeah, isn't it? So it's a really good point. Another question we've got here from Ashutosh wants to know how much percentage of the percentage on would you consider on a flying freehold? What percentage would you consider there?
So we're a storybook lender, and this is a great thing about ourselves. We'll have our criteria, and generally you go up to 15-20%. However, with being a storybook lender, we're not a tick box. We review everything with human eyes, and our underwriters like to speak to our brokers over the phone and get an explanation. So if we just put down there that we would do 15-20%, and that's the maximum, we would lose properties that potentially would be something that we would be happy to lend on. So we don't have a clear-cut answer on that. I would really push brokers to reach out and speak to us, tell us the story behind it, explain what type of property it is, and we can take a view.
Brilliant. Okay, hopefully that answers that question there, Ashutosh. There is a category on Knowledge Bank where you can put flying freehold in and see, just some lenders have like a range of percentages, depends what it is, where it's the standard, terrace houses where you kind of got the, what do you call it, little alleyway.
Like a ginnel.
Oh, see, I was gonna go Ginnell, and then I thought, do I do Gennell? Where are we? I don't know. I thought I'll call it an alleyway, and then we thought it's a Ginnell or a Gennell. The little alleyway, yeah. So things like that are more standard. But as I say, if it's anything that's not, then a conversation with your BDM. But thanks, Ashutosh. Really good question. Thank you.
Yeah. So leading on to the next slide that we've got here. So some of the most valuable ways that we find to overcome gazumping is knowledge and knowing how to structure the case with the lender who understands the key points of that. And again, this is where specialist lenders really come in. And I always say to all of my brokers, no question is a stupid question. Ring me and ask me if I can do something or if I can give you a little bit of help. I'll still speak to BDMs that work all over the market in all different types of lending, just to and sometimes to them it might seem like a stupid question, but things are changing all the time, and it doesn't matter how long we've been in this industry. There's always new things to learn. So role of specialist lenders here, then generally what we're finding is we can offer funds in days rather than weeks. So 53.38% said that they've been gazumped because it was due to being stuck in a long property chain and things were taking too long to complete. Now, cash buyers are therefore, as we've touched on before, they're a really quick option for a vendor. So if we can put our buyers in that position, it's exactly the same position because they've still got to go through a legal process, even if they're not borrowing funds, then hopefully we're going to take those cash buyers out from gazumping our particular clients. Product diversity and optionality. So 57.50% of people have said that they were gazumped while they were trying to find a seller for their own property. Now, specialist finance can remove that element for residential, commercial, and also for semi-commercial properties. Again, touching on the quick completions. Now, transparency here is absolutely key, and 58.75% of people that were gazumped said that it was down to long waits and delays in getting a mortgage, so legal processes like we've touched on before. And specialist lenders in the market, like ourselves here at MFS, we can underwrite upfront, and we'll also create a bespoke loan that overcomes these complexities. And one of the key points, again, just to touch on, is our underwriters are not scared of speaking to brokers. You do get given their mobile number, you get given their direct email address. It doesn't go into an inbox. You're going to have the same underwriter that follows your case through right to completion. So you can build that relationship there. And generally, if we've got a broker that's sending a few deals to us and you just want the relationship with one underwriter or just two underwriters, we can facilitate that for you because it's all about relationships and getting to know each other.
Brilliant. I'm just going to jump into the Q&A. I've got a more general question here actually, and you might be able to answer that, or maybe some of the other brokers can help. So this person's asked anonymously, which is why we said that's absolutely fine. We just want to get you the answers to the question. So this person says, my network's insurance does not allow us to give advice to clients who do not have settled status or British passports. My client would like to start buying buy-to-lets in the UK, but I was told would need to find a lender which would take the whole responsibility and give advice to clients. Could you deal with such cases? The client still lives abroad. Is that something you can help with at MFS?
Yes, we can do, because it's an unregulated product. So we wouldn't personally be providing the advice. They would get the independent legal advice. They would get the advice through their solicitors. So as a broker in the unregulated market, and especially with the foreign nationals, then you can only generally provide although UK nationals, you'll be providing advice of which product you feel is best and outline those products. For other clients, you might just be providing 2-3 different options, and they have to make that informed decision of which option they want to go ahead with, and they would get all of the advice through the legal side.
So just thinking about this question, the brokers asked this question, and it is, if you get a situation where your network just won't allow something, it's difficult, isn't it? What are the other options for sort of like arm's length stuff? And I mean that in a good way, not the, arm's length transaction, but to do something at arm's length, so you're virtually passing that customer on to somebody else. What about such as packagers and master brokers? Could they help in this situation?
Of course they can. So that's what I was about to touch on there. So generally, sometimes in these particular cases, then packages are a really, really good option and master brokers. And we all have to utilize each other's skills within this market and what we can and can't do. So and that's why they've got a place in the market as well, because I do believe they provide a good service to brokers where a network may restrict you from doing that particular case.
Yeah, and it's just about getting an agreement, and you can, for certain things, have agreements that are sit outside of your network. Like, you might have a conveyancer that you pass stuff to and get a kickback, or you might
Yeah.
pass your commercial on to somebody else and get a kickback from that. So it's only the same thing, isn't it? You're passing along something that you're not able to advise on, but still able to benefit financially if that's what you want to do. But a few
Yeah.
options there for you. I hope that helps, because it is challenging when your network just don't allow something, especially when you've got a client that you know that you could help, but you're just not able to.
There's many brokers out there that really utilize other brokers as well. So if you didn't want to pass it to a packager who may take that relationship, there may be unregulated brokers out there that aren't restricted from a network, and like you say, they can get a kickback from those, and then in turn, the unregulated broker, there'll be cases that they can't do because they can't provide any advice. And you can work together and build your network that way with the comfort that, you're going to keep those relationships moving forward. Because from speaking with brokers, sometimes that is the worry about going through a packager, although they don't necessarily do that and they offer a really, really good bespoke service, that there is always options out there for people.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, as well, if you do the search on knowledge banks, if you're just looking for your client, you're just looking what their options are, but you know that you can't transact that business. If you look on knowledge bank, if you to the left where it's on the results page, to the left where you've got the lender's name, their little logo, if you click under there, if they allow package business, it'll say packager, and you can click on that and see which packagers that lender will accept business from as well. So that just helps you, again, point you in the right direction, so you're not sort of shooting in the dark. You know exactly which lender you're looking for, and which packager, because as lenders you have different deals with different packages. Some deal with some deal with others. So just go on there and have a check as well. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, and this is kind of leading on to our last slide that we've got here today, which is education is key. And again, most of what we've been talking about, we undertake quite a few surveys. We like to really understand the market that we're in at the moment. And one that we conducted in January showed 43% of investors are finding it challenging to remain up to date on the property market news, and 46% they want analysis or an opinion on specialist properties and websites to give them informed decisions. And we're showing that there's a demand for educational articles out there. So this goes for investors and also brokers as well, on the educational pieces. So we're really, really keen on providing education to our brokers. Um, and also investors who are at the start of their journey. So what we do is we do quarterly research documents, we do online articles that feature industry statistics, we do in-depth complete guides on specialist finance, such as specialist buy-to-let mortgages, auction finance, and development exit loans. So because we're so heavily involved in this free educational content online, including all of this quarterly research, then I would really suggest going having a bit of a dig on our website, having a look, see if there's anything there that might help you with getting a case over the line. And yeah, we would love to work with you guys moving forward. Um, so yeah, we've got online calculators as well. The secret product that I was speaking with Nicola about earlier on is, so we do offer semi-commercial, commercial term lending. So I touched on that really briefly before, and the holiday lets, HMOs, any size HMOs, MUFBs up to 30 bedrooms. The commercial side of things you won't see on the website because it is still quite secret. We don't advertise it out there. We don't want to open the floodgates. The product is really, really good. It's working very well for us and our brokers that we do discuss that with at the moment. So do reach out if you want some more information on that, and want to help your clients to leverage on their LTVs, because that's what we're about as well. We can do some really quirky things in the background. We can top slice, so we can 20% top slice. We can defer interest. We can roll interest, and we can try and get your client to the maximum leverage over bridging, buy-to-let, commercial, and also the holiday let lending, that to get them where they need to be. So
Fantastic.
yeah, so I've put a scan there so that you can review our sources page. So you could do that on your mobile phone if you require. And I am going to switch on to the final page now with contact details. And thank you so much, everyone, for listening to me talking about the gazumping today.
No, that's been really, really good. Thank you. Thanks for that, Michelle. Obviously, if you've got any questions, I know we did do a lot of questions as we went along, but if you do have any or any thoughts even now that you want to just share with us, then feel free. It's really interesting. And I think, understanding what the options are and what you can do, because it's especially for brokers who have never used this kind of finance, or which is lots, isn't it? You sort of it's like, oh no, I don't do that. Yeah, it's nothing I get
Yeah,
involved in. And again, that goes back to where packages can be helpful. So even if you can
yeah,
transact that business, if you just don't feel comfortable, then packages are brilliant. And that, usually they'll do as much or as little as you actually want them to do. If you want to keep that contact with your client, they're fine with that. If you want to hand it off and say you deal with it, they're fine with that as well. So it's quite you do get to, I think a lot of brokers are worried about handing business off and then maybe not losing control and maybe losing the client, which is understandable. You work hard, don't you? So yeah, it'd be really good to to understand that as well from your perspective as a lender, to understand that relationship with packages.
yeah. I think that they're absolutely brilliant. There's so many brokers from events that I'm going to at the moment. I'm seeing more and more regulated brokers coming into the unregulated market, and it is a very difficult market. It's very different to what someone may have experienced before. Bridging can seem absolutely daunting initially, as a broker, to come on board and do something from a complete different side of things. And the packages really will help brokers build the confidence, and it may then get to a stage that the broker becomes more confident within doing these products themselves.
Yeah.
So again, it's an educational side of things. Lenders are there to help, the packages are there to help, and help grow the broker and on their journey of where they really want to concentrate on, because we can't all be a master of absolutely everything. We've all got our own USPs.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, sometimes when you're starting out, you're still trying to find out what they are, aren't you? What are you
Yeah,
good at? What do you enjoy? But also what business naturally finds its way to you as well. And it might depend on, what area you're in and whereabouts in the country you are, and whether that is, some areas are brilliant for buy to let, some less so, aren't they? It does
yeah.
depend on where you are in the country as well. So a lot of variance there. Yvonne's asked, will this webinar be available to access afterwards? Michelle, we did record it, and because we
Yeah.
did say, is everyone at MFS happy to, do we think, or do we need to check with compliance? C word.
Um, well, so I would love to say yes. Let's check with compliance first. I'm sure it's absolutely fine, and you've got my blessing to, send things out. We'll check with the guys internally, but I don't think it should be an issue at all.
No, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. Yeah, we always have to check with compliance, but I think
Yeah.
everybody who's on here today knows that feeling. You've got to check with compliance. So don't
Yes. Yeah.
mind that. Yeah, if we can, it has been recorded. So if we can, then we definitely will, because we think it'll be helpful to anybody that just wasn't able to make it today. So brilliant.
Yeah.
I think
And
don't know if we have any more questions or anything else. I mean, you know, we are penciled in for the hour, but if we are done, then people can open those bottle of wines early.
Yeah. Well, as we were saying, 5 o'clock somewhere, isn't it?
Exactly that, and it is a Friday
Yeah,
after all.
yeah.
But just anything else, thinking about what MFS are doing at the minute and where you are in the market, anything else that I know you gave us some really good stuff on the secret products, the under the counter deals, which is really
Yeah.
good. Anything else, sort of big USPs, I guess, for MFS?
So the huge USPs for MFS, just as a really quick touching point is it's all about leverage for us. We are a storybook lender, so if you've got a case that you feel you are really, really struggling to place, do give us a call, reach out to us. We'll always see if we've got a slot that we can put that in, and look outside the box, because we're the first to try and find a solution rather than a way to say no. we, we've got a lot of money that we're ready to lend out, so we're going to try and find every which way possible that we can do that. The having access to underwriters, huge USP there. And again, dealing with clients who would sometimes fall outside of your tick box, on the high street banks especially, and sometimes your challenger banks as well. We're not always going to be the top of a list, when you're looking on, sourcing criteria. However, we will do our best for your clients, and yeah, we're really keen to get out there and get some more of these loans over the line for everybody.
And you have got a great team as well, haven't you, at MFS? It's fair to say
Lovely.
you've got a bit of a dream team there now, haven't you, really?
Oh, absolutely. And there's been such huge growth within the company, especially over the last 10 months. You may have seen, and you can really see the passion in absolutely everybody. And I guess that's got to be comforting for brokers to see as well, that everybody here, we're all friendly. We all want to talk to you. We don't want to, try and decline a case. Like I say, we want to try and find a solution, and the best possible way forward.
Find a way to do it. And this is where I
Yeah,
always say, like, Knowledge Bank will save you absolutely hours of time finding, because when you go through there, you're looking at the lenders that are most likely to do it. But then the next step, then, always where, especially when it's quirky, pick the
yeah,
phone up, have the conversation. Obviously, you've got Notify as well now that you can use. That's included on Knowledge Bank. I know additional charge for brokers to use, and brokers are really, really loving that because it's just saving them so much time. And it's got the persistent messaging on, so it doesn't matter if you go off and see a client, somebody's there, they've got back to you, and you've got it all in writing, so that when you submit the case, then it's there. But that conversation with the lender, whether you have it via Notify or you pick up the phone, it's
yeah,
really, and of course our gradings, we have yes with condition, yes by exception, refer, and only then do you get to a no. Now if a lender's saying no, they're saying no, they can't say yes
yeah,
to absolutely everything. But that's where it is worth, if there's anything above a no, have that conversation, because they don't all fit it's a square peg in a round hole, isn't it, sometimes?
yeah,
And just trying to see how you can get comfortable. But it's nice to hear from lenders that are really genuinely trying to say yes to cases, and not find ways not to lend money. As you say, you've got plenty of money to lend. So
yes,
yeah. Wingo says, shout out to George C and Richard S in MFS. Give them his regards. So there you go.
yeah.
We will definitely do that for you, Wingo. That sounds like they're deserving of a shout out. Brilliant.
Yeah, they're both absolutely brilliant, and give it all the support they can. George is very, very hungry for business, and Richard's there helping getting things over the line. So yeah, I'm glad that you've got that relationship internally, because that's what we like to do. That there's no closed doors there. You can build relationships with the underwriters. We've got a team of BDEs in the office as well as BDMs out on the road. So we're really keen on face-to-face meetings as well. So if anyone does want that, reach out to MFS. We'll find your local BDM, and we'll get out there and come and see you with donuts, or take you for a coffee or lunch, whatever you prefer.
Perfect. Right. Who do we ring for that? Get you out for lunch.
Yeah.
Fantastic. You know what? I actually made it. So Yvonne made that really good suggestion. She said about the a limited company holiday lets as the
Yeah.
exit. And I made a note. I said we get that put onto Knowledge Bank. But I've just made another note actually, because one of the categories that I don't think we've ever had on there, but because it's not criteria as such, but we do put some categories that aren't criteria, but they're helpful to brokers. And the
Mhm.
one that I've just noted down to add on there is direct access to underwriters. Because I
Yeah,
think if you've got that, because not every lender offers that. And I know it's not criteria, but as I say, it's if you've got that case where you think, I need to speak to the underwriter directly. I need, this is going to be, if I don't, it's never going to get through. It's going to bump on all the edges on the way out. So my team are going to love me when I get off this, and this is where there's not my.
yeah,
I don't always present these, but I've just noted that down because I think that's a really good addition that we can add on Knowledge Bank. So we'll put that on. We'll ask the lenders to answer it, and then you'll be able to go on there and you'll be able to see of the lenders. If you have got that kind of case where you do need that chat with an underwriter, which lenders can facilitate that and which can't.
yeah. Because sometimes it can become a bit like Chinese whispers. You're going through 2 or 3 different avenues to get back to the underwriter. But if you can have that conversation yourself as a broker, you can iron it out then and there, and the broker can explain things to the underwriter that, in the correct way, and we can do that. And even we're more than happy to get on to solicitors or anything to help speed up a transaction. We're not going to close the doors on anyone.
Brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. Bryn's just said, wish more lenders gave direct access to underwriters, makes such a difference on the more challenging cases. It does, absolutely right. And that's why I've just thought, I don't think we have that, because I say we put criteria on there, but there are other little things as well that we'll put, like, for example, which credit referencing agency, do they hard or soft score, and at what stage, and so we've got other little bits on that are not necessarily criteria. But actually,
Yeah,
that direct access to underwriters feels like a good addition to Knowledge Bank, because as Bryn's just said, Bryn says wish more lenders would give direct access to underwriters, because you
yeah,
can't help but feel it might save time. We were talking about time killing a deal and property,
yeah,
saying on your presentation. And actually, if you can speak to the person who's the decision maker, no offense to anybody that's in the middle of that conversation, but
yeah,
actually just speak, and I'm preaching to the converse here because that's what you do, but it does just make it easier. Whereas some lenders do sort of stonewall their underwriters, you can't get to them, you
yeah.
can't access them, and
And
yeah.
I can understand because we're all very busy. But we ensure that we've got enough underwriters there to be able to take the calls and still be able to underwrite and get our deals over the line for us.
Actually, as well, just to Bryn's point, that actually might make a difference, because actually the underwriter might be sat there thinking, I could just say yes if this, and the broker's got the answer to it.
Yeah,
So it helps both ways, doesn't it? Bryn
it
says,
does.
maybe with Knowledge Bank flagging that up, it might encourage lenders to do so. You're right there, Bryn. That's our
Mm.
little. We have this little super pack. Don't tell anybody, but that's what we do. So we did this with that actually works. So do you remember when they were doing product transfers, and they gave the product transfer window was bigger in the resi market, when all the sort of chaos and everything, and some lenders kind of, again, sort of, off the table had sort of said, well, you can't swap that rate once you've tied
Uh,
into it. You can't swap that rate. So if rates do come down, a better rate comes out. They extended the product transfer window, and it was supposedly to help customers. I get why it was done, but then if rates did come down, that was a really difficult position for brokers to be in. So we thought that was a bit difficult. So we added that as a criteria category. And when they were forced to answer it, some lenders did actually change their policy on that.
oh wow.
And you're absolutely right. But yeah, it's we do that because it's all about transparency. We just, a
Yeah.
lot of us here at Knowledge Bank have been brokers and work for, we get it, So thanks, Bryn. Bryn says, sorry, I haven't asked a question, but a great session. But your feedback's brilliant. Thank you, Bryn. I'm really pleased that you found the session useful. I think everyone will agree. Michelle's been absolutely fantastic. I said I was looking forward to this, and I'm really, really pleased that I've done it. Such a great session, some really brilliant information there. Michelle, your contact details are on there. Yvonne's just said, actually, as part of Primus, we don't have you on the panel. Is that right? Are you going on the when are you going on the panel? What's happening there?
We will be. So we've got we've got some new heads in the office. We've got Lisa that's just recently joined us. So she's working very hard on that at the moment, and we will be getting on there very soon.
So just in case you're wondering so Lisa is, can anybody who's on today, can you remember when
Yeah.
we used the question of knowledge, right? When we first started, so the OSB group had a 12-month tenancy and we did question of knowledge with Roger Morris and Lisa Campion. So Lisa Campion, the lovely Lisa Campion, is now at MFS. So you are in very good hands because she is fantastic and so, so knowledgeable.
Yeah.
So back to Yvonne's question, Primus, you are, when do we know when that's going to happen?
I would have to ask Lisa. She is dealing with all of that side of things, so I have not been privy to that conversation, unfortunately. So I do apologise on that. But hopefully just watch this space.
Brilliant. Yvonne said it seems like yesterday. It does. It was, there was such great days with Roger and Lisa. We used to have such a laugh putting those together. And we quite often used to go on into the afternoon because it was you know what Roger's like when he gets going. But yeah, it's good to know that you've still got access to Lisa through
Yes.
MS as well.
Yeah,
So
we're really lucky to have her on board. We've got some really great faces in the team now. Karen Rodriguez as well, head of sales. So we have got the dream team, like you say.
I've exactly got the dream team. So many good people that you've got there, Mike. Everyone. It's a really, really great
Yeah.
team. So thank you, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed that as much as I have anyway. It's been a brilliant hour spent for me. We will check on the recording. We'll just run it through compliance and just make sure that's okay to send you a copy of that. Of course, you'll get your email, which will count as your CPD as well. If you have anything, give Michelle or one of the team a ring there if you want to pick up on anything at all. But that was just a fantastic session. Thank you so much. I think everybody seems to have got a lot out of that and really enjoyed it. So thank you very much, everyone. We are back on Monday. Our next criteria clinic is on Monday at what time is it? At 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock. It's always at 10 o'clock. Why am I thinking it? So we are talking about remortgaging and capital raising and for different purposes, debt consolidation, business, but all the weird and random, wonderful things. So bring your cases and we'll try and place as many of those as possible on Monday. So have a great rest of your Friday. Have a brilliant week. A massive thank you again to Michelle, and we'll look forward to seeing you on Monday on our criteria clinic. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.